This is why I keep trying to get Tony to have stuff ready on site. It does put a lot of extra pressure on me.
What's going on out there?
What they think they're doing? Pushing all that dirt in our ground, that's quite a bit nerve.
Every great empire has its secrets, buried deep and forgotten by time. For the Roman Empire, it was lost legions. For the Beets family mining empire, it was a hidden gold mine from the original Klondike stampede, a secret so old Tony Beets himself never suspected it was right under his feet. You see, while Tony was busy being the Viking, his son Kevin was playing detective. He outsmarted the smartest miner in the Yukon, not with a bigger machine, but with a 100-year-old map and a discovery that would lead to an $85 million prize. Data versus dogma. It all came to a head on a freezing Tuesday morning. Tony's crew at Paradise Hill had just finished a disappointing weigh-in, pulling in less than 100 ounces for a week's worth of back-breaking work. Tony, whose temper was legendary, was furious. He saw the low numbers as a personal failure, a chink in his armor. When Kevin approached him with a binder full of geological surveys and seismic charts, Tony didn't even look at them. "Gold isn't in your computer, boy," he grumbled, his voice a low growl. "It's in the ground. You need dirt under your fingernails, not ink." What many overlooked was that this wasn't the first time Kevin had tried to show his father a new way. For months, he had been running ground-penetrating radar scans at night, secretly mapping the bedrock of Paradise Hill. His data showed strange anomalies, void spaces, and magnetic signatures that made no sense. They pointed to something deep underground, something ancient and man-made.
Well,
Need a bigger head.
20.
About
532.
The thing nobody tells you about the Klondike is that the old-timers of the 1890s didn't just scratch the surface. They dug deep, chasing veins of gold with hand tools and dynamite, creating mazes of tunnels that the earth eventually swallowed. Kevin believed he had found one of these forgotten relics. His research in the Dawson City archives backed it up. He found a faded claim from 1898 filed by a pair of Swedish brothers named Lars and Magnus Eriksson. They had reported a massive find on the very land Tony now owned, describing a network of tunnels following a rich quartz vein. Then, just 6 months after filing their claim, they vanished. The official record said they perished in a flash flood, their mine lost forever. But Kevin's data suggested the mine wasn't lost, just hidden. When he tried to explain this to Tony, his father cut him off. "Fairy tales," Tony scoffed. "You're chasing ghosts. This ground has been worked for 100 years. If there was a secret tunnel full of gold, you think I wouldn't have found it by now?" That dismissal was the final push Kevin needed. If his father wouldn't listen to reason, then he would have to go behind his back.
You really want to do something different than Tony. We don't want to be as chaotic. We want to do it once and do it right and just be done with it.
He decided to launch his own secret operation, a high-stakes gamble to prove that the future of mining wasn't just in bigger machines, but in smarter thinking. He would find the Eriksson brothers' lost mine and claim the treasure himself. The most shocking fact is, he already had a plan, and it was so audacious that not even the Viking would see it coming. But he couldn't do it alone. He needed someone who understood the dangers of underground exploration, someone he could trust completely. He needed his sister, Monica. His plan was set, but would his sister even agree to defy their father? The point of no return. Many people are crazy about the on-screen drama of the Beets family, but the real story often happens when the cameras are off. Kevin knew that approaching his sister Monica was a risk. While she was more open-minded than Tony, she was fiercely loyal. However, she also shared Kevin's frustration with their father's refusal to modernize. Monica, a skilled operator in her own right, was often relegated to secondary tasks, her potential capped by Tony's old-fashioned views. Kevin found her by the family's repair shop, her hands covered in grease as she worked on a faulty water pump. He laid out his plan, his voice low and urgent. He showed her the seismic maps, the void spaces that looked like a subterranean spiderweb. Then he showed her the historical file on the Eriksson brothers. "They pulled over 5,000 ounces out of here in 6 months, Monica," Kevin explained, "with picks and shovels. Their last letter home mentioned a river of gold deep in the hillside. Then they just disappeared." The most shocking fact wasn't just the lost gold, but the mystery surrounding the brothers' fate. Some local legends claim they hadn't perished in a flood at all, but had run into something so terrifying in the tunnels that they fled, leaving everything behind. Monica was skeptical at first. "And Dad knows nothing about this?" she asked, wiping her hands on a rag. "He thinks I'm chasing shadows," Kevin admitted. "But the data doesn't lie. This tunnel is down there, and I think I know how to get in without moving a single yard of dirt on the surface." He pointed to a section of his map on the far eastern slope of Paradise Hill, an area Tony had long ignored as worthless. His radar showed the tunnel system came within 20 feet of a series of natural limestone caves hidden by a rock slide a century ago. You see, Kevin had a memory from his childhood of exploring those very caves before his father forbade it, deeming them too dangerous. He remembered a passage that went deep into the hill before ending in a wall of collapsed rock. According to his new maps, that collapse was the only thing separating the caves from the lost Erickson mine. "We can get in through the caves," Kevin said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "No excavators, no crew. No one will know." The thrill of the discovery, combined with the chance to prove their worth, was too much for Monica to resist. She agreed.
We're gonna have to run night shift if we want to get 1,000 ounces this year, so we're gonna kick that off tonight. And if night shift goes well, then we're running double the hours, so that should mean double the gold. Fingers crossed.
Their alliance was forged not in defiance, but in a shared desire to innovate, to push the Beets empire into the future. That night, under the cover of a moonless sky, they gathered their gear. Climbing ropes, high-powered headlamps, emergency beacons, and a portable core sampler. As they hiked to the forgotten caves, the weight of their secret was immense. They weren't just exploring a cave, they were digging into a family secret, a decision that could either make them legends or get them cast out forever. The entrance was almost completely hidden, a dark slash in the rock face veiled by thick brush. As they slipped inside, the air grew cold and still. The silence was absolute, broken only by the drip of water and the crunch of their boots on loose rock. This was it, the point of no return. They were in, but what horrors had the Erickson brothers left behind? A century of silence. The thing nobody tells you about going underground is how the world above simply ceases to exist. For Kevin and Monica, the moment they entered the cave system, the family drama, the pressure from Tony, all of it vanished, replaced by a primal focus on survival and discovery. The limestone caves were a natural wonder, with formations like melted wax frozen in time. They navigated the narrow passages for what felt like hours, following Kevin's digital map until they reached the collapse he remembered from his childhood. It was a massive wall of rock and debris, seemingly impassable. But Kevin's survey data had shown a small opening near the ceiling, a ventilation shaft the Erickson brothers must have carved. Monica, the more experienced climber, shimmied up the rock face and confirmed it. "It's tight," she called down, her voice echoing in the chamber, "but it goes." One by one, they squeezed through the narrow passage, emerging into a different world. The rough, natural walls of the cave gave way to the unmistakable marks of human hands. Ancient, decaying timber beams strained to hold up the ceiling. The air tasted of dust, rock, and something else. Metal. They were inside the lost mine. Their headlamp beams cut through a century of darkness, revealing a scene frozen in time. A rusted pickaxe lay on the ground, as if dropped in a hurry. A wooden cart, its wheels half buried in silt, stood waiting for a load it would never carry. And then they saw it.
I gotta take this off and get back to the hopper now. If this will come on.
I'll take care of all that.
Yeah, man.
Get back and feed that hopper. Keep
Don't
it
get
going.
stuck again, man.
The walls of the tunnel weren't just rock, they were shot through with a thick, brilliant vein of quartz and gold. It snaked along the passage, wider than a man's arm, glittering under the light of their lamps. It was the river of gold the Erickson brothers had written about. What many overlooked is that placer mining, the kind Tony did, was about finding loose gold flakes in the dirt. This was different. This was hard rock mining, chasing a single incredibly rich source. Kevin took out the core sampler and drilled a small piece from the vein. The sample was astonishingly heavy. His preliminary analysis suggested a concentration that was almost unheard of, potentially hundreds of ounces of gold per ton of rock. As they moved deeper, they found the tunnels honeycombed the entire hillside. The Erickson brothers had been busy. The potential value wasn't in the millions, it was in the tens of millions. Kevin quickly did the math. A conservative estimate put the total haul at an incredible $85 million. But not all things are what they seem. In the largest chamber, they found the brothers' main living area. And there, on a rough-hewn wooden table, lay a journal. The last entry was written in a panicked, shaky hand. It didn't mention a flood. It spoke of the ground shaking, of strange noises from deeper in the earth, and of a shadow in the deep. The final sentence was chilling. "We have woken something up we cannot stay." Suddenly, the mystery of their disappearance took on a terrifying new meaning. They had found the gold, but had they also found their own tomb? An empire reborn. Returning to the surface before dawn was like waking from a dream. The weight of the $85 million secret and the chilling journal entry pressed down on Kevin and Monica. They had physical proof now, a backpack filled with quartz samples so rich with gold they looked like museum pieces. But their clandestine mission had not gone unnoticed. Tony Beets might not trust computers, but he had an animal instinct for his own territory. He knew his children had been lying to him. Their late-night absences, the hushed conversations, the missing climbing gear he'd been watching. He was waiting for them as the sun rose, his massive frame blocking the path to their camp, his face a mask of cold fury. "Where have you been?" he demanded, his voice dangerously calm. There was no point in lying anymore. With a deep breath, Kevin dropped the heavy backpack at his father's feet. It landed with a solid metallic thud. "We were proving you wrong," Kevin said, his voice steady. He unzipped the bag, revealing the glittering gold-laced rocks. Tony stared at the samples, his anger momentarily replaced by disbelief. He picked one up, his expert eyes examining the find. This was no ordinary pay dirt. This was a lode vein, the kind of discovery miners dream of but almost never find. Monica handed him the Erickson brothers' journal. As Tony read the frantic final entry, Kevin laid out the maps, the data, and the astonishing financial projections. "It's all down there, Dad," Kevin finished. $85 million, maybe more. We found a way in without anyone knowing. You see, for the first time in his life, Kevin wasn't asking for his father's approval. He was showing him the future. The silence that followed was heavy. Tony looked from the gold in his hand to the faces of his children, seeing not defiance, but capability. He saw the same fire in Kevin that had driven him to come to the Yukon with nothing and build an empire. The thing nobody tells you about a man like Tony Beets is that beneath the stubborn pride is a deep-seated desire for his legacy to endure. And in that moment, he realized his legacy was standing right in front of him. "Show me," he said, his voice raspy with emotion. The three of them descended into the mine together. For Tony, stepping into the Erickson tunnels was like stepping into a legend. He ran his hand along the river of gold, his miner's heart pounding with a thrill he hadn't felt in years. He saw the potential, but he also saw the danger, the creaking timbers, the instability. But he also saw his son's meticulous planning, the safety lines they'd set, the structural assessments Kevin had already run on his computer. This discovery was about to change everything for the Beets family. But people watching this story know that a secret this big can't stay buried for long. Word travels fast in the Yukon, and a find worth $85 million doesn't just attract attention, it attracts predators. Are we missing a key detail? Yes. The thing is, they weren't the only ones who knew about the lost Erickson mine. Kevin proved that the greatest treasure isn't always the gold you find, but the respect you earn. He outsmarted a legend and secured his family's future. But was it genius or a betrayal born of desperation? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.